I really became more involved in the cemetery 5 years ago. A lot of the headstones were crooked. The bases are set on bricks. So going around and straightening out a lot of these stones and then realizing they're just sitting on bricks, that soon they're going to be settling again. And without a good base underneath some of these stones, they're going to keep settling. And so you're just kind of repeating things that you're going to have to repeat again later on. So again, things 100 years ago were done away, that we have found better ways to do things. And with even setting stones, it's going to help in the future when you go to do things, that you don't have to repeat them, do them over. So some of the maintenance on this cemetery, the problems is not only getting around some of the stones, but the steepness of the hill here. On the other side of where the vehicles are parked, we got a lot of family plots that we're dealing with. But particularly when it rains, it's very difficult to mow this area here. The lawnmower will just simply slide, and you even have to attack it in a certain direction, otherwise that lawnmower will tip on you. Then the trimming, somebody volunteers, or we're relying on volunteers to help do all the trimming in the cemetery. So to walk some of this hillside and ask a volunteer to go up, maybe on a hot day, to go up and do some trimming, has been part of the problem in the years past, is trying to get volunteers that will help take care of the cemetery. So hopefully with this new proposal and have a perpetual cemetery, that there's money set aside to help fund this. We won't have to rely on volunteers to step up and help maintain the cemetery. Because if there is money set aside, that you can use part of that money to help maintain that cemetery. The thought is that if you have a sidewalk and you're putting the headstones on that sidewalk, then as you mow, you won't have to do any trimming. So that's my thought, is to help really to minimize the amount of maintenance that is required. And so if there's a long, narrow piece of concrete and you can put the headstones on those, then you've eliminated a big part of the maintenance to a cemetery. The last funeral we had was halfway up the hill. It had rained, and some of the footprints had sunk in like 4 inches. One of the gals came out with a walker, and so she was determined to get up to that gravesite. And bless her heart, she struggled, and a lot of other people had to help her to get up. And so she's probably not going to visit that gravesite much anymore because of how much work it was to get to that site. So by relocating it to where it's down, where people can get access to those deceased family members, will be honoring them much more than having them up there where you can't get to them. Oh, sure, it's pride. You want to have, if your cemetery looks good, you feel good about your community. I mean, if this cemetery wasn't looking in decent shape, you know, it's a part of pride in your community.